going to be a semi-quick update on the Alec Murdaugh saga that continues to this day. So I'm going to play a brief news clip and then we're going to dive into more details. So here we go.
Convicted murderer Alec Murdaugh is sentenced to another 40 years in prison for stealing millions of dollars from his legal clients. Murdaugh pleading guilty to 22 charges back in September, admitting to having stolen $12 million from his personal law firm, injury clients, and his family law firm. Today's sentence will run concurrently to a state sentence of 27 years for those same financial crimes. But he's already serving 2 life sentences for killing his wife Maggie and son Paul. Prosecutors say they're satisfied with the outcome and happy that the victims of his crimes have gotten justice.
These victims are not just names listed in a court filing. They are real people who trusted an attorney at the most difficult times of their lives. When they had lost loved ones, when they were severely injured, and they were betrayed in those vulnerable moments.
Along with prison time, Murdaugh was ordered to pay $8 million in restitution to the victim.
All right, so the man's got a lot of time. So let's unpack all of that. So here we go. This is the Associated Press article titled "Alex Murdaugh Gets 40 Years in Federal Prison for Stealing from Clients and His Law Firm." This was written by Jeffrey Collins. As you can see, let me make this bigger, sorry. That should be better. Okay, so Charleston, South Carolina. For maybe the last time, Alec Murdaugh, in a prison jumpsuit instead of the suit he used to wear, shuffled into a courtroom Monday in South Carolina and was sentenced to 40 years in federal prison. Murdaugh was punished, this time in federal court, for stealing from clients and his law firm. The 55-year-old disbarred attorney is already serving a life sentence without parole in state prison for ending the lives of his wife and son. So actually, I believe in the video they just said 2 life sentences, not just 1. All right, so federal agents had recommended a sentence from 17 and a half to just under 22. Federal agents recommended at max 22. He got 40. So what does that tell you? All right, so Murdaugh also pleaded guilty in state court to financial crimes and was ordered to spend 27 years in prison. So this was state financial crimes. This was federal. So he got 27 years for state crimes. Now he's charged for another 40 years. The federal sentence will run at the same time as his state prison term, and he likely will have to serve all 40 if his unaliving convictions are ever overturned on appeal. So that's a picture of them April 1st. He was sentenced April 1st, so that was this Monday. He was just sentenced. All right, so U.S. District Judge Richard Gergel, I don't know if I'm saying that right, but sorry, buddy. You got a difficult name to say. So Richard said that he sentenced Murdaugh to a harsher punishment than suggested because he stole from, quote, the most needy, vulnerable people, end quote, including a client who became a quadriplegic after a crash, a state trooper who was injured on the job, and a trust fund intended for children whose parents' lives were ended in a wreck. Murdaugh stole from people who, quote, placed all their problems and all their hopes, end quote, on him, said Richard. The 22 federal counts are the final charges outstanding for Murdaugh, who 3 years ago was who 3 years ago was an established lawyer negotiating multi-million-dollar settlements in tiny Hampton County, where members of his family served as elected prosecutors and ran the area's premier law firm for nearly a century. They really owned that town for a long time. Murdaugh will also have to pay nearly $9 million in restitution. There is a staggering human toll to every cent, said attorney Justin Bamberg, who represented several of Murdaugh's victims. Prosecutors asked the judge to give Murdaugh a harsher sentence because FBI agents think he is not telling the whole truth about what happened to $6 million he stole and whether a so far unnamed attorney helped his criminal schemes. I think he was dealing with some kind of illegal business, potentially with illegal substances. So Murdaugh's, and something that gets overlooked a lot too with the Murdaugh case is that he had his own like landing pad, a landing strip on his property. So if you're going to be trafficking illegal substances, where better to do it than on your own property? Some plane can just fly in, you load up or unload or whatever, and it's right there. So it's just, it always, that was something that always struck me as part of the story that never was really fully examined anyways. So Murdaugh's largest scheme involved the sons of his longtime housekeeper Gloria Satterfield. Her life ended in a fall at the family home. Murdaugh promised to take care of Satterfield's family, then worked with a lawyer friend who pleaded guilty on a scheme to steal $4 million in a wrongful death settlement with the family's insurer. In all, Murdaugh took settlement money from or inflated fees or expenses for more than 24 clients. Prosecutors said the FBI found 11 more victims than the state investigation found, and that Murdaugh stole nearly $1.3 million from them. Murdaugh again apologized to his victim at his sentencing Monday, saying he felt, quote, guilt, sorrow, shame, embarrassment, humiliation, end quote. And I'm sure he does on some level, and maybe it's just because he was caught, but he does feel those things for sure. I believe he does feel that. Whether he actually feels those things for the right reason, I don't know, but he offered to meet with victims so they can say what they want to say and, quote, more closely inspect my sincerity, end quote. There's not enough time, and I don't possess a sufficient vocabulary to adequately portray to you in words the magnitude of how I feel about the things I did, Murdaugh said. Murdaugh blamed nearly 2 decades of addiction to opioids and said that he was proud he had been clean for 937 days. Gergel, or Richard, scoffed at that explanation. No truly impaired person could pull off these complex transactions, the judge said, of the maze of fake accounts, juggled checks, and money movements that hid the thefts for nearly 20 years. It's like he made a job out of hiding it. Yeah. Prosecutor Emily Limehouse said Murdaugh's claims don't make sense because he told the FBI he was taking the same amount of pills as he did when his addiction started in 2008, but the amount of money he stole increased rapidly in the years before his arrest. He was adamant all of the money was spent on illegal substances, and it doesn't add up, Limehouse said. Murdaugh was convicted a year ago of ending the lives of his younger son, Paul, with a shotgun and his wife, Maggie, with a rifle, which also still has never made sense to me that there were 2 weapons and weapons were never found, so I don't know how they can pin it specifically on anyone. And the height and the whole thing with Paul and how it would have been like someone hunching down, and I don't know. Murdaugh was convicted a year ago of, okay, I said that. While he has pleaded guilty to dozens of financial crimes, he adamantly denies that he ended the lives of his family and testified in his own defense. There will be years of appeals in the case of Maggie and Paul. So, yeah, I agree. It's going to be in appeals for a long time. I definitely think that his trial got really out of control with Judge Newman letting all the financial crimes in, because you can't do that. There's a reason why you're not supposed to prejudice the jury by throwing in all the illegal crimes that one has ever done in their past. So one doesn't mean that he did the other necessarily. And I think if he did have some kind of substance business. Uh, that could have been a very, and he owed people money too. So he owed a lot of people money. There were potential suspects besides him that could have done what he did, what happened to his family. So I'm still not entirely convinced he did it. I am definitely convinced about the financial crimes, and he's a scumbag for all of that. And he's going away for 27 plus 40 years. I guess they're concurrently though, for the financial crimes, and has to pay 9 million back in restitution, which I don't think he's ever going to be able to afford, but it's a start. $9 million in restitution. All right, so that's going to be the end of our Murdaugh update. I'm going to switch gears here to talk about Becky Hill because I did not talk about this when it first happened because there were so many other things going on in the news at that time and I just didn't get around to it. So I'm going to read about Becky Hill resigns. So March 25th, 2024, Fitz News. Embattled Colleton County, South Carolina clerk of court steps down. Becky Hill resigns from office on March 25th. Monday, March 25th. I should say 2024. Nearly a year after she presided over the Palmetto State's trial of the century. Hill announced her resignation a little over a month after our media outlet reported that a multifaceted criminal investigation into her had picked up significant momentum in recent weeks. However, her attorney, Justin Bamberg, was adamant the announcement was not related to any looming criminal inquiry. According to Hill, her decision to step down was based on a desire to spend more time with her grandchildren. If you have grandchildren, you know what I mean, she said. Hill was elected. Do you believe that? I mean, maybe partially, but that's not why she's stepping down. Hill was elected to this post in November 2020, defeating Democrat Deborah Bright with 55.83% of the vote. Several candidates have already indicated their intention to campaign for this seat in the current election year. Well, good. One of them, Deputy Clerk Gary Hale, stood behind Hill at her press conference, which we're going to watch here in a second. According to the South Carolina Code of Laws, Hill's replacement, until voters make their choice this November, will be chosen by South Carolina Governor Henry McMaster. Until McMaster makes his choice, the office will be temporarily held by County Probate Judge Arthur Cecil Utsi IV. Utsi incidentally was appointed by McMaster in June of 2022 to fill the unexpired term of outgoing probate judge Ashley Amundsen. Hill, 56, of Walterboro, South Carolina, has been the focus of multiple ethics and criminal inquiries in the aftermath of the double homicide trial of convicted Alec Murdaugh. The most significant allegation against her that she tampered with a jury that found Murdaugh guilty of ending the lives of his wife and son, Maggie and Paul, on the family's hunting property near Islandton, South Carolina in June of 2021. Hill's office managed Murdaugh's double homicide trial in Walterboro, South Carolina from January 23rd through March 3rd, 2023. In fact, she read the guilty verdicts to a waiting world on the evening of March 2nd, 2023. On September 5th, 2023, 6 months after the verdicts were announced, Murdaugh attorneys Dick Harpootlian and Jim Griffin filed a motion accusing Hill of tampering. According to the motion, this included removing a juror believed to be sympathetic to Murdaugh on the same day the verdicts were announced. Hill has also been accused of ignoring allegations involving a juror who allegedly violated the judge's instructions and spoke in favor of convicting Murdaugh. According to Bamberg, Hill's resignation could have occurred hiding behind a computer screen or hiding behind her lawyers, but that Hill was committed not happening. Okay. All right, so we're going to watch her press conference. I'm skipping over her lawyer. That's her lawyer there with her, who I'm skipping over his comments. So here we go.
Good morning, everyone. It has been my honor and pleasure to serve as your Colleton County Clerk of Court over these past 4 years. The clerk's office has provided many services to the citizens of Colleton County. The Colleton County Clerk's Office is proud of our services and the significant impacts we have made in the history of South Carolina. Here at the Colleton County Courthouse, you will find a full-service passport office with certified agents ready to help you, as well as notary services and e-filing that has streamlined our civil processes.
Don't you think it's weird that in her resignation speech she talks about all the benefits that there are at Colleton County and why you should come here? Weird.
Another significant impact in our clerk's office was in 2023 when we had to manage one of the biggest trials in South Carolina history. Our small town came together and made everyone proud. Managing a trial with such importance to the people of South Carolina, as well as of the national and international media, interest, and public scrutiny, and has caused me to reflect upon decisions involving my stay in the office of the Clerk of Court. And so, after much reflection, I have decided that it is best not to run again for re-election. I will now be able to focus on being a wife, a mother, and grandmother to my 2 grandboys, and will be spending time with the people who mean the most to me.
For as long as you can before you're thrown in prison, maybe? I don't know.
With the upcoming election, I wanted to ensure that I provided ample time for other Republican candidates who may be interested in pursuing this position. I want to publicly thank all of the citizens of Colleton County who voted for me, who have supported me, and who have stood by me. I also want to take just a moment to extend heartfelt condolences to the family and friends of a very, very kind, professional educator here in Colleton County who has departed this life and gone on to the other life that she has, and that is the family of Debbie Price. And so today I just want to take a few seconds of silence just to remember her and her family and friends. I also want to thank my amazing staff who work in the Clerk of Court's office for the wonderful job that they have done and that they will continue to do. We are fortunate to have strong leadership within our office, and I am proud to say that our clerk's office will seamlessly move forward. I look forward to all of the future holds and will fondly remember the true amazing friendships that I have made while serving the incredible people of Colleton County. And so, as we fix our eyes forward, I would like to announce also that my resignation as Clerk of Court will be effective immediately. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen.
That's all. We don't need to hear from him. All right, so following that, so 4 days ago, I don't have a specific date. Okay, but 4 days ago from today, it appears 1, 2, 3, 4. So maybe the second, Tuesday, the 2nd of April. All right, so Governor McMaster appoints next Colleton County Clerk of Court. South Carolina Governor McMaster announced who will be the next Colleton County Clerk of Court on Tuesday. It was Tuesday. Effective immediately, Patricia C. Grant of Walterboro will serve as the next Clerk of Court in Colleton County until the next general election. Grant served as the Colleton County Clerk of Court for 20 years before retiring in 2020, it said the governor's office. Former Clerk of Court Rebecca Hill announced her resignation from the position last week. After Hill resigned, McMaster appointed Colleton County Probate Judge Cecil Utsi IV to take charge of the office until a permanent clerk was either appointed or elected. Hill has been accused of tampering with the jury in the 2023 unaliving trial of former attorney Alec Murdaugh, who was convicted in the June 2021 unalivings of his wife and son. She is also the subject of an investigation from the South Carolina Law Enforcement Division, or SLED, who are investigating if Hill used her position for personal gain. SLED is still investigating that case. Interesting, huh? So I will keep you guys updated if we hear more on Becky's SLED investigation, or if there's more updates on Murdaugh, because as we know, the story is not over with him. He, I'm sure, will appeal. He, I'm sure, will, I'm sure his lawyers have other things up their sleeves to try. So that's all I'll say. I don't, a lot of people hate defense attorneys, and I don't. I think that they are really there to, for the most part, help us to not get in deeper than we need to be when it comes to the judicial system. They really are protecting us and our rights and keeping us, giving us those plea deals instead of the going straight to jail forever. I mean, one of those, if you were in the situation of a wrongly convicted person, or even if you did do it, you would still want a defense attorney just helping you, because that's what they are there for. They defend the Constitution, our constitutional rights. They're the only ones. The state does not. I've said it before in other videos. The state only has their own interests that they are looking at. Usually they're financial, or political. Either one. All right, so on that note, I'm going to let you guys go. Thank you so much for watching. Please don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and take care. I will see you in the next one. Bye now. If you've been impacted by a true crime and would like your story told in your own words, or if you or someone you know has been wrongfully convicted or accused of a crime, please write to crimeincourtchannel@gmail.com and tell us your real true crime encounters. Thanks for watching.